Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? I'm back with something new. It's a monthly event on. Well, he said monthly, but I assume there's a new episode every month, or maybe it's different. Uh, Something really big's happening on Netflix. My friend John, I can't remember. Told me either 3 weeks ago or last week. I can't remember. David Letterman is coming back to TV, and that's why I'm going to title the video Dave Letterman Comes Back to TV, and I review his very first episode of his new show from Netflix. And his show is called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. And then I'd go Dave Letterman Return. I mean, and that title would be so long I wouldn't be allowed to put it on YouTube because just title can't be too long or you won't be able to use it. I'll probably do something like Dave Letterman Returns to TV. And of course, Maggie's using the litter box. And he has a show on Netflix. Now, there's supposed to be, like I said, a monthly event, either one episode, new episode a month, or whatever. I mean, just keep up with the things. There's one episode right now. It just premiered today on Netflix. And it's an interview with Barack Obama, former President Barack Obama. Now, this is not a political video. And the reason I say that is, I don't want all my subscribers fighting with each other, whoever you're for or not like that, And also at the end of the video, I want to do my personal history with Dave Letterman because I remember growing up with him in the 80s, watching him in the 80s and a whole different variety of things. And he kind of restructured the way talk shows were back in the 80s. I mean, because, you had Johnny Carson. They didn't have that as many talk shows as they do now. And so let's go ahead and talk about this new show on Netflix. Now, Dave Letterman's last show was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. Then Craig Colbert took over. And the way the show is shot very differently. Different camera angles and stuff like that. And it's shot more like a movie, like if you see like a Richard Pryor stand-up comedy, it's filmed kind of like that. And it does have that stand-up comic feel to it. But, this episode was more serious than anything else. He comes out, and he talks a little bit about, there's a little bit of comedy at the very beginning, and then he says, and then you see who's in the background. He's looking at the big screen laughing, and then he introduces Barack Obama. And Barack Obama comes out, and there is humor and banter back and forth, and you can tell that they're friends. And it's rated TVMA, but, it's not anything too offensive language-wise. I think he said shitface at the end of the show, Dave Letterman. But, Howard Stern's coming up, so that's probably the one that's going to be TVMA. And it's uncensored. Like I said, there's stuff, and then there's, they go to Selma, they walk across the bridge with that one senator. A lot of it's interesting. You get to learn some history about Selma and voting and stuff. And also, there's some comedic elements in there. They banter back and forth and joke, but the interview is crafted very well. They go back and forth very well, and you can tell Dave Letterman's really serious. Asking questions. He doesn't joke around as much as he did in the other show. He's in front of a studio audience. Very well done. Crafted very well, and it's very interesting. Next episode's going to be George Clooney. That should be and that should be a lot less serious than this one. They said they went over on time. I think it's almost an hour. But it's edited, and they interject photos and then some film footage, and like I said, right in the middle they have that walk across the bridge. I can't remember the senator's name. It escapes me. Dave Letterman, him. It's really interesting. I like the show very much. I give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. And I think it's going to be a real hit. As I said, it's a Netflix event. But they having Dave Letterman's back is really something else. At least for them, I wonder how much he's getting paid. And he says it's like a 6-episode deal. And it's like the people he wants to interview, the people that he's inspired by. And so hopefully it'll be really interesting. I think Jay-Z might be on one of them. I don't know if I want to watch that one. But oh well. Maggie, what do you want? So that's my review of that. And I also want to talk about my history with Dave Letterman. Like I said, growing up, there was a theme as far as like morning and late night talk show. There was the Today Show, the Tonight Show, and the Tomorrow Show. Now the Tomorrow Show went bye-bye. But I mean, of course, the Today Show, minus Matt Lauer, he got in some serious trouble. He's no longer there. And then Tonight Show's been through a bunch of changes. When I was growing up little, the Tonight Show used to be an hour and a half long from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And then the Tomorrow Show with Tom Snyder was either an hour or a half hour long. I can't remember. And like I said, that was really laid back. He was always smoking and stuff. He came back to TV in the early 90s doing a show after Dave Letterman for a while. And like I said, that was no longer there, the Tomorrow Show. And then Dave Letterman eventually, they shortened Tonight Show to an hour long. And then it ended at 12:30, and then Dave Letterman's show, Late Night with Dave Letterman, came from 12:30 to 1:30. But before that, Dave Letterman used to be like a weatherman. Well, he was a grocer at he was a bagger at this one grocery store, and he used to do like they used to have things where they have competitive bagging or something like that, would bag groceries and fast pot, and he was very good at it. He would try to compete with the people on the show doing that. He was an expert at it. He was really good. And he had, I forgot, the one thing I forgot, he had his full beard on, Dave Letterman, like you see with a full beard. He didn't shave or nothing like that. Yeah, I remember Barack Obama said he has that biblical beard. He said, "Did you bring your staff with you and you part the Red Sea?" That's a reference to Moses, or Charlton Heston, who played Moses in the Ten Commandments. Okay, going back to the thing, he became a weatherman. Then he left weather and he tried to make it in the showbiz. His very first gig, he was hired by Robin Williams to play a small part in a motivational speaker in 1978, I believe, in Mork and Mindy. And he was just very unusual actor. He wasn't really acting that much. And he had a small role. I remember he had a small role in the stand-up Steve Martin special I saw. That was pretty funny. That's back when Steve Martin was really goofy. Now, he's more serious now, but he was really goofy back in the 70s and very early 80s. He was really silly. And then David Letterman went to what we call the morning show, which was on NBC. I loved the show. And I barely watched it except when I was on summer vacation. I had to go to school, In summer vacation, I watched it all the time. I liked it. And it was like a setup where they have like, I can't remember everything, but he had like interviews, and then he had like a comedic thing with Edie McClure was on it. And then Rich Hall did like a thing about, I can't remember his bit. Now, Rich Hall was a story in himself. Rich Hall was a comedian that never quite really hit the big time, even though he was involved in some big projects. Because I remember Rich Hall used to be on the show Fridays, which I was a big fan of, and people just said that was some people just said that was like a poor man's ripoff of Saturday Night Live, or ABC's version of Saturday Night Live was on Friday nights. He was on that show, and then, like I said, he was on David Letterman's morning show, and then when David Letterman had his show that came after Tonight Show, Late Night with Dave Letterman, he was usually a guest on the show. And he would be on there a lot, and he had like a series of best-selling books called Sniglets that I never read. I'd never seen him any. I think I might have seen a book of that once, maybe. But they said it was best. Maggie, I don't have anything up there. Come on. Maggie's not listening. And what happened was, Dave Letterman had that show, and at that time in the late 80s, Rich Hall was on Saturday Night Live. He was on for a year, I think a year or two, and he had a Showtime special called Rich Hall's Vanishing America, which I really liked. It took me a while to find it because I first saw it. It was on Betamax in Fort Bragg. I tried first video, and I didn't have a Betamax machine. I just had regular VHS because the Betamax was a huge flop. But that was on Betamax, and I didn't get it till I didn't end up buying it. They had the Albion video store offered it on sale back in 95, 96. I bought it then. I really enjoyed it. Rich Hall's Vanishing America. It was a comedy stand-up he did what had nostalgia in it for Showtime, and that was the same time he was doing the Saturday Night Live thing. And then he got his only really starring role in the movie. He was more of a co-star. He was in $1 Million Mystery, a movie that no one remembers. It was like a 4 minutes version of The Mad Mad World. You're gonna get hurt. It's a Mad Mad World. That really distracting me. And now I got all lost. Okay, within that, and like I said, he was still doing the talk show circuit. And then you really didn't see him that much anymore. And then whenever Conan O'Brien, you still saw him time to time on David Letterman. And then Conan O'Brien took over for Dave Letterman, and you saw him on Conan O'Brien's show. And then he formed a persona. He was doing like, I never thought it was really that funny, but I mean, it was different. He was doing like a Bruce Springsteen type persona. And then he did a comedy special on, was it for Comedy Central or Cinemax? I can't remember. And I remember seeing it, an hour long, and it was okay. And that was the last time I ever seen him. I don't know what happened to Rich Hall. I hope he didn't pass away. Let's see. I'll look it up now since I'm doing this. Maggie distracted me. Maggie. Rich Hall. And not to be feud with Rich Little, that's the Rich Hall, comedian. Let's see. Okay, Rich Hall. Nope. No, he's still running. I mean, I just haven't seen him in a long time. He was probably doing other stuff, but okay. I was just curious. Well, let me go back to the thing. Like I said, Dave Letterman had Late Night with Dave Letterman in the 80s. And then there was rumors Johnny Carson was going to leave The Tonight Show. And there was rumors that he was going to get the seat for The Tonight Show, which is the most coveted position in late night TV. And he ended up not getting it and ended up going to Jay Leno. And there was big fights between the two. And there was things like if you were on the Late Night with David Letterman, you weren't allowed to be on Tonight Show. And there was a book called The Late Shift that was based off that. And there was a movie on HBO. I remember watching it. I believe it was on HBO. It was a good movie. And after that, he ended up leaving, and then Conan O'Brien took over his spot. And then he ended up going to CBS. I know a lot of my friends were really mad because I remember working at Texas Pit Barbecue, awful place. Horrible food, horrible people running the place, Conway's. And that place used to be awesome, but boy, I went there and they let it go to hell. It's no longer in business, thank God. And they used to have like reruns of Star Trek on at 11:30, and then they found that Dave Letterman was going to have his show on it, and my friends were mad. So I want to see Dave Letterman. They were saying how boring he is. I remember buying a book about Dave Letterman. I said, "Well, that's got to be a dry read." And they hated Dave Letterman, and his first show he had like Bill Murray on there. It's pretty interesting. I liked the show. And like I said, Dave Letterman did a few other things. He had a small acting gig in Cabin Boy. I thought he was real funny in that. I love Cabin Boy, the Chris Elliott movie. He did a voice of Beavis's dad or Butthead's dad in Beavis and Butthead Do America. It was very funny. He hosted the Oscars, and everyone said he was the worst host ever. I thought I liked it. I thought he was funny on that, but that whole Oprah Uma thing was awful. And he kept doing it over and over again. And then he said that Oprah Winfrey said he didn't want to. She said Dave Letterman makes him. She said that Dave Letterman made her nervous. And I remember there was a big thing, Super Bowl commercial where I think Oprah Winfrey said that she reunited Dave Letterman and Jay Leno in one room talking to each other. That was a big time commercial. And like I said, Dave Letterman had this successful show for the longest time, and then and that was it. He decided to retire and stuff. And then Netflix came calling. I didn't think he'd come back. I thought he would like the reclusive life. But he came back, and I liked the new show on Netflix. I give this one like a 9 out of 10. I mean, to see how the next shows are. And the one thing is, whenever Johnny Carson now passed away, sadly, but when Johnny Carson retired, he pretty much retired in '92, if I'm not mistaken. The only thing that I remember him doing after that was a few years later in '95, I think. He did a guest voice for The Simpsons. And that's to be honest. He said a couple words, and that was it. He probably just did it at home, I guess, or I don't know how they did it. But I mean, that's my review of David Letterman Returning to TV for a show called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction. It's not the best title for a show, but I mean, it's all probably Dave Letterman's pet project. Maybe it's something he's been wanting to do for a while, just people that he handpicks. And I know Netflix, that's a big deal for Netflix. Another score for Netflix, so I don't know how much he got paid, but interesting show. We'll see how the other shows are. So, till next time, bye, please. Take care, my legion. I know the personal history ran longer than the review, but the review stands. I mean, I thought it was an interesting show. I think you will too. So, take care, everyone.